Yo, 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 what's going on, family? It's your boy VIC93, and we are live for VIX Takes episode 5. Yes, sir. I know it's been a little while, but I had some things going on, busy with work and family and stuff. But hey, we back, and I got a slam-packed episode for y'all today. This past weekend, we had a lot of sports news going on from NBA, March Madness, MLB just kicked off recently with baseball, college baseball. Hey, we're going to dive into a number of topics. But first thing I want to talk about, we're going to dive straight into it, y'all, right into the meat and potatoes of it. March freaking Madness. Let's fucking go. You hear me? March Madness is going crazy right now. Today we just finished the Elite Eight, the final games today. That was Tennessee versus Houston and Auburn versus Michigan State. Michigan State was going back and forth, but Auburn pulled it out. Shout out to Coach Pearl. We miss you down here in Tennessee, man. Tennessee could not get it done. They went up against a juggernaut in Houston, and I was like, I was feeling like this was going to be the year for Tennessee to finally get past the Elite Eight. However, they couldn't get it done. And Houston 69, Tennessee 50. And then yesterday we had Duke dominate Alabama 85-65. And also Florida beat Texas Tech. Texas Tech was up by 16 in that game, and Florida came all the way back to win that. Florida's looking real good. I picked Florida to make it to the Final Four. I didn't think they were going to win the whole thing, but now that I've seen them, I'm thinking that if they can get past Duke, if they can beat Duke, then I think this championship is theirs for the taking. Number one for Florida, Mr. Walter Clayton Jr. He's a bad man. Not gonna cap. That boy, he been hooping this whole tournament. I know I got to see Florida live at the SEC tournament here in Nashville, Tennessee, and to see him play up in person, it was entertaining. He's a very good player. Florida got a good team though, not just him. They got a number of good players on their team. Number 5, I'm going to shout you out right here, bro. I got you. Will Richard. He's a shooter. He had a good performance in the SEC tournament. He didn't play that great versus Texas Tech. He only had 6, but he's usually pretty good for them. And also Mr. Elijah Martin, number 15 for Florida. He's real good. He's a shooter. He didn't have a great shooting night versus Texas Tech either. But that's pretty much, I think that's why Florida just didn't have a good shooting night, period, versus Texas Tech yesterday. But Walter Clayton, he showed up and showed out. He had 30 points, 4 assists, 2 rebounds. He didn't shoot great from 3. He was 3 from 8, but hey, he did what he had to do to get the job done. And then Thomas Hogg, number 10. I'm sorry if I mispronounced your last name, bro. But shout out to number 10, Thomas on Florida, bro. He had 20 coming off the bench for them. So he was huge. But Texas Tech, don't let me overlook them, man. Y'all fought hard in that game. A.T. Toppin, he had 20. Darian Williams for Texas Tech, he had 23. You know, they played pretty good. They just couldn't hold on long enough to come out of that one. And Duke and Alabama, Duke did dominate most of the game, but there were flashes and times within that game where you thought like Bama could have made a run. But every time Bama started, making a run, Duke just answered. I know it's going to be a lot of people that are going to say Duke got a lot of calls, which I agree. Watching that game, Duke did get a lot of favorable calls. Not to say that they didn't play good or they didn't deserve to win, because I do think they were the better team and they did deserve to win, but the rest were a little whistle happy when it comes to Cooper Flag and Duke. And also that was the same story for them in the Sweet 16. And the Sweet 16 versus Arizona, there were, it was a lot of criticism about the reffing and how it seemed like Duke were getting favorable calls. I feel like that's just part of the territory when it comes with these popular teams like Duke, like Kentucky, like Kansas. When you got teams like that, I know Kansas isn't in the tournament and Kentucky got eliminated by Tennessee. But when you got teams like that, if you're not playing crisp basketball, you're going to get, beat by the calls, by the refs. So you got to make sure that y'all, on defense, you sliding your feet, not too much hand checking. And it's just about getting a feel for the game, I feel like, too. If you know the refs are calling certain things, you can't let it frustrate you. I was just talking to my nephew about that in his AAU tournament. He was getting hacked and the refs wasn't making the calls, and it's like, yo, I know things aren't going your way, but you still got to keep an even, calm mindset, because if you let it get to you mentally, then you're going to go out there and make forced errors and give the game away instead of, forcing the referees to make hard calls or forcing the other team to defend you properly and stuff like that. So you can't use that as an excuse. But however, I did agree that the Sweet 16 versus Arizona and then in the Elite Eight versus Alabama, Duke got a few favorable calls. But Tennessee, man, the way they looked versus Kentucky in the Sweet 16, I was like, yo, this is Tennessee's time. And they dominated that game. Defense was amazing. They was locking up on D. Offense wasn't great, and that was their downfall. They didn't have a go-to scorer. Like last year, they had Dalton Knecht, who's doing his thing with the Lakers as a rookie, and they don't have that guy they can just get the ball to when they need a bucket to go get a bucket. And I think that was their weakness, especially versus Houston. Houston has one of the top 3 defenses in the country as well, with right with Tennessee. So when you got that element of the game where it's 2 of the top defenses, it's all about who can create and who can execute on offense with making the least amount of mistakes. And Tennessee just couldn't do it, man. Houston, they were beat them by 19. The defense was all up in your grill. They was in the grill all night. And I just want to go over Tennessee's stat line just so I can give y'all an idea of what went down. This is the starters for Tennessee, okay? Number 4, Felix Okpara, 4 points. Igor Milicic Jr., number 7, 2 points. Zakai Ziegler, number 5, 5 points. You got as many points as his jersey numbers. It's crazy. Number 2, Chaz Lanier, 17 points, but 4 from 18 from the floor, 2 from 12 from 3. So he was putting up a lot of bricks to get those 17. And then Jemai Mashak, number 15, 4 points. And then 18 points overall on the bench by 2 people. Number 11, Jordan Gainey, had 17 of those 18. And number 8, Darlin Stone Dubar, that's an interesting name. Number 8, he had 1 point, one of those 18. So you had 18 bench points from 2 people, and then you had 22, 26, 27, 28. You had 32 points from your starters. You're not gonna win shit with those types of numbers, bro. I'm sorry. Yeah, they didn't have the scoring that they needed. And then if you look at Houston, it was pretty much leveled all the way out. At LJ Cryer had 17, Emmanuel Sharp had 16, and then Tugler and Uzan both had 6 as for the starters, and then Jawan Roberts had 9, and then they had some they had less bench points than Tennessee, which is crazy. But the starters, they were all scoring at least 6 and up, bro. So yeah, Houston dominated Tennessee. It's disappointing because Tennessee had such a good year. They were pretty much in the top 5, leading in the SEC. Them and Florida for most of the season, but Florida's still in it. It's Florida and Auburn, the last 2 SEC teams. Florida and Auburn are on the same bracket, so that's who plays in the Final Four. Florida and Auburn, and then Duke and Houston play in the Final Four. So we won't see a SEC championship, but we are going to see a SEC matchup versus SEC in the Final Four, which is pretty cool. SEC had a historic year this year with like 8 ranked teams, and then like 8 teams made it to the tournament. It was, a crazy run. So I'm excited for the next Saturday, April the 5th, to catch both of those games. I will be tuned in to both of those games, so I'll make sure to post a reaction about that as well. But shout out to the teams that got eliminated. Michigan State, they had a great season. I know a few days ago it was a bunch of chatter like Michigan versus Michigan State in the tournament. Now they're both out, unfortunately, but they played a good game versus Auburn, gave them a run for their money. Auburn, they're just a resilient squad. They got a lot of talent and they're well coached. Bruce Pearl, he's been coaching for a long time and he knows what he's doing. This is going to be his first time in the Final Four, if I'm not mistaken. I know he took Tennessee to the Elite Eight before, so he got past the Elite Eight into the Final Four. So I'm really rooting for Bruce Pearl. I'm kind of torn because I love Florida. I like Walter, number 1 for Florida, and then I like Bruce Pearl. So it's going to be an interesting game to see them go those two teams go scrap at it. Great game between Auburn and Michigan State. So we got a lot of great college ball this past week. The college was really entertaining. I actually think college ball was more entertaining than NBA, to be honest. I think most people probably that I know would agree with that. You know, they watch college a little bit more than NBA. I tend to tune into NBA a little more during the playoff time. I've been keeping up with it for the past few months though, just because we're gearing up to the playoffs, trying to see how the matchups are gonna play out, trying to get my FanDuel parlays. You know what I'm saying? Trying to smack FanDuel real quick because they stingy with the parlays, honestly. But let's go into the NBA. I know over this past weekend we had a few pretty cool matchups. We had the Cavs beating the Clippers today. Let's see, the Hawks destroyed the Bucks. Let me see the Giannis play. I know Damian Lillard is out right now due to blood clots, and prayers up to Dame, man. I hope he can get through it. Him and Victor Wembanyama had the same. I think I heard it. They had the same blood clot or similar blood clots in the similar area of the body. So I'm hoping, I'm praying for both of them to have a full recovery. I hate that for them. Yeah, that's something that is very serious. I have family that deals with that too. So that's something that you definitely don't wish upon nobody. So wish for that both of them to have a speedy recovery. And I'm looking at the Spurs, yeah, because he's still out. Victor Wembanyama is still out. They lost to the Warriors. They got blasted by the Warriors. Again, the Spurs didn't have their best player. Timberwolves beat the Pistons today. They actually got into a brawl too. It seems like every time the Pistons get into something, it's always Isaiah Stewart. Isaiah Stewart had 7 minutes, bro, and he got into getting into some stuff, bro. Yeah, Minnesota beat them boys. Anthony Edwards had 25. Julius Randle had 26. Mike Conley had 17. Rudy Gobert had 19 and 25. So he dominated the paint. Beasley for Detroit had 27. And of course, Detroit's best player didn't play tonight, Cade Cunningham. So that was probably a reason. And that's another thing with the NBA, bro. It's like, I know you can't control injuries, but it's so hard to keep up when, some of the best players don't play every night. So it's like, as I'm looking over these games and when I'm watching the highlights and watching games, and I'm looking for certain people, and I'm like, yeah, he's not in there. But that's what it is. It's a high level game and people can get hurt, so you can't really control that. But the load management and stuff like that, you just wish that we could keep that to a minimum so that we can watch the best players play. That's what it's all about. So we're getting ready to for the playoffs, and let me take a look at the seeding for the NBA so I can give y'all an idea of what we're looking at for the playoffs. In the Eastern Conference, the Cavs they're the first seed right now. Celtics is the second seed. They're behind the Cavs at 4.5 games. Knicks right now is the third seed, 12.5 back from first place. Pacers, fourth seed, 16.5. Pistons, fifth seed at 18. Bucks 6th at 19.5. The Hawks 7th at 23.5, and Magic 8 at 24 games behind first place. So the East, besides 7 and 8, they're pretty much set. Like, it's gonna take a lot for anybody to jump another. Like Pistons and Pacers, they're 2.5 games away from each other at 4th and 5th. So that, depending on how they finish the season, that could change. But between the Pistons and the Bucks are going to be dropping off, I think, since they don't got Dame. They're going to be probably falling a little bit of a few more games. So they're going to probably be around 6 or 7, I believe. Well, the Hawks are 23.5, so they're 4 games behind the Bucks. So, could they catch up? I'm not sure. The Hawks are 6-4 in their last 10, and the Bucks are 4-6 of their last 10. So it is possible the Hawks could creep up and take that 6th spot, and the Bucks fall in the 7th. But regardless, 7th and 8th, you're in the play-in. So you still 7 and 8 seed, you're in the play-in. And then you got the Bulls at 9 and the Heat at 10, both at 33 and 41. Yeah, those teams are pretty much set. The Raptors are at 11th. They're 32 games behind. And they're, 6 and a half game or 5.5 games away from the Heat and the Bulls for that 10th and 9th spots. I don't think they're going to catch up. Bulls, Heat, and Magic Hawks are pretty much going to be battling for that play-in seeding. So we'll see how that goes. And on the Western Conference side, you got the Thunder in the first place in the whole NBA, at least 62-12. They still could get to 70, right? Yeah, because it's 82 games, so they lost 12, so they still could get to 70. So they could crack that. We'll see. I know a lot of people's tuning in to see if they could crack 70. They got 8 more games to go. Rockets up to the second seed. Hey, this young team is looking pretty good with Coach Adoke. He got them young guys playing pretty good, man. So yeah, I knew the Rockets was gonna be coming up because they've been getting a lot of good young players. It's good to see the NBA have these young teams like OKC, Houston, drafting these young guys and building through the draft. And not me personally, I get tired of seeing these big franchises making these splash trades to stay relevant, like the Lakers. And I grew up as a Lakers fan. Kobe was always my favorite player, but now it's kind of like we're not gonna draft good guys. We're just gonna trade our picks and get all-star players from other teams to build, like getting Luka and this, that, and the third. I mean, that's fine if you can do that. That's cool, but I like it better when you draft guys and develop them, like how Golden State developed their dynasty, like how the Spurs operate. It's not as flashy in Hollywood, but it's good ball. I feel like that's how you get the best basketball, when you got guys who grow together, play team ball, and actually have the same growth development. You know what I mean? Like, instead of pulling guys with egos from here, and there, these guys are basically babies together in the NBA, and then they blossom into all-stars together. To me, that's just more entertaining for me personally. But hey, to each is their own. And then we got the Nuggets at the third. They crept back up to the third seed. Sorry, I forgot. The Rockets are 13.5 behind Thunder, so nobody's catching the Thunder. Pretty much similar to the East. And then the Nuggets are 15.5 behind the Rockets. The Rockets are 9-1 in their last 10 too, by the way, which is great. Nuggets are 5-5. Lakers are 4th. They're 17 games behind Thunder, which is 2.5 games behind Nuggets, and they're 5-5 in their last 10. Grizzlies are 5th. They're a game behind the Lakers. Warriors are 6th. They're a game behind Grizzlies. So they're 1 game behind Grizzlies and 2 games behind the Lakers. So 4th, 5th, 6th, and 7th, even 8th. So 4th through 8th is all still a toss-up between like 2 to 3 games. Those seedings could change. The Nuggets, they're 2.5 over the Lakers, but I mean, if the Lakers go on a run and the Nuggets lose 3 or 4 games, the Lakers could jump over Nuggets. I don't see that happening. I think the Nuggets, in my opinion, I think the Nuggets are still a better team than the Lakers from what I've seen when they're both healthy. It's still a possibility Lakers could go on a run and jump over them, or the Lakers go on a bad streak and then Grizzlies, Warriors, and Timberwolves all jump over them. So we'll see how that goes. Clippers are 8th. Like I said, they're half a game behind Timberwolves, a couple of games behind Warriors and Grizzlies. Clippers been looking pretty good lately, and so Grizzlies was 4-6 of their last 10. They just fired their coach, which makes zero sense to me. The playoffs are about to start. Why would they fire their coach? They got a bunch of rumors out here that Ja was not happy with how the offense is running and this, that, and the third. And I think they're just trying to use that as a scapegoat. They're trying to use Ja as a scapegoat to why I think the owner and the GM wanted to fire the coach a long time ago. They just didn't. Now they're doing it. We'll see how that plays out. I don't agree with that at all. But you got Warriors 7-3 of their last 10. Timberwolves 7-3 of their last 10. Clippers 7-3. And the Mavs 5-5 at number 9. And the Kings 3-7 of the last 10 at the 10th. 6 through 8, they're all like gaining momentum going into the playoffs, which is what you want to see from your team when it's close to playoff time. Warriors, Timberwolves, and Clippers, all 3 of those teams have guys who can get the ball and go get you a bucket at will, and they play pretty good defense, especially the Warriors adding Jimmy buckets to the team. The Timberwolves, they pretty much got most of the same guys from last year with Naz Reid and those boys. Ant-Man playing defense, Rudy Gobert, Mike Conley, those guys, they're going to scrap. They're going to play D's. That's the type of dudes you want. That's the type of dudes you want in the playoffs for NBA. And the Clippers, we got Kawhi. If he can stay healthy, if he can stay healthy. I'm a huge Kawhi fan. And, he's super entertaining to watch. I think he's one of the best players in the league, but he got to stay healthy, bro. When he's in the playoffs, he dominates. But if you not playing, then nobody remembers you. And that's why I don't want him to fade away into the NBA forgotten because he hasn't been playing, especially in today's NBA. I think the way the offense is played and how it's officiated, I think he could definitely dominate and take over this style of basketball. But yeah, he just been having issues with staying healthy the past 3 or 4 years. He's playing right now, so hopefully, fingers crossed, knock on wood, that this man can stay healthy because I definitely want to see him with James Harden on that and Norman Powell and the Clippers in the playoffs. And then you got Mavs. I know AD just came back. Hopefully he can stay healthy, but they don't got Kyrie, so I don't think that the Mavs are going to do too much. Mavs and Kings are in the 9th and 10th spot for that play-in, so that means Clippers and Timberwolves will be seeing both of those teams. I don't think the Mavs or the Kings could stand a chance versus Timberwolves and Clippers. Hey, it's the NBA. Anything can happen. I just don't see that personally being the case with either one of those. I'll be staying tuned to see how it progresses. Once the playoffs start, I'll be diving in, giving my opinions on the matchups and stuff like that. So I appreciate y'all for rocking with me so far. Just keep rocking with me. We got more content coming. Also, let's talk a little baseball, man. So these Yankees, bro, they've been on a tear. They had a series this weekend with the Brewers, and they put belt to ass on the Brewers. Do you hear me? So yesterday they played the Brewers 20-9. 20-9. That's a stomping. The Yankees set a franchise record with 9 home runs in a single game. Judge hits 3 of the Yankees' 9 homers with 8 RBIs as New York goes deep on first 3 pitches. The first 3 pitches. Pop, pop, home run. Hey, that's amazing, bro. Like, Yankees, I think they heard all the talk during this offseason about, like, them not getting it done in the postseason and not meeting expectations. So, hey, they started off hot. They're 3-0. Yeah, they're 3-0 so far because today they just beat the Brewers. They spanked the Brewers again, 12-3. Aaron Judge hits his 4th home run in 2 games. The Yankees hit 4 home runs in demolition of Brewers. Yeah, they're just dominating the Brewers right now. The Brewers are 0-3. They're not looking like they're gonna do too hot this year, but I'll keep my eye on it to see if they can bounce back. And also, I wanted to talk about the Dodgers, man. My boy Mookie Betts came back from injury. He was dealing with some illness, I think, straight out of the Ville, bro. This man came in and hit a walk-off home run in the 10th inning to win the game versus the Detroit Tigers 8-5. Hey, that's how you come back. And they got the ring ceremony that night too. So he came back, got his ring, and then win the game on a walk-off homer. It's looking like it's gonna be another Dodgers Yankees matchup in the postseason. I don't want to overlook these other teams right now. The Padres started off to a good start. They beat Atlanta twice this weekend as well. And Atlanta started off rough. They're 0-3 right now. The Padres are 3. I root for the Braves too, man. That's closest to Tennessee. We don't got a major league team, so if I ain't rooting for the Sounds, I like to root for Atlanta and, of course, Dodgers because Mookie's from the city. I hope they can turn it around, man. They starting off a little rough, but we'll see how they turn around, next week and things when they start playing other talent. Padres just had their number this weekend, but it was 2 close games. Padres beat them 1-0 yesterday. And they beat them 5-0 tonight. So they 0-4 and Friday they lost 4-3. So most of them was close games. Today was the only game where they just, controlled the whole game and beat them 5-0. We'll see how that turns out moving forward. And then let's get to the women's tournament too. So let's see. South Carolina beat Duke women's basketball today. So South Carolina is going to the Final Four again, of course. Coach Don Staley has a dynasty program over there. She's doing her thing with those young ladies. UCLA just beat LSU today. So UCLA will be advancing to the Final Four women's college ball. And let's see, the other two Elite Eight games will be tomorrow. So we got Texas versus TCU tomorrow, and then USC versus UConn. Hey man, shout out to Juju. I hate the tragic injury. She tore her ACL earlier last week, so she is out for the tournament. I hope she has a speedy recovery. Prayers up to Juju. For real, she's one of the best hoopers in women's college ball. A straight dog. They got UConn minus 13.5 on this because USC will be without their best player. It's been amazing to see them come this far, even without her. So shout out to USC. Hopefully they can make it a game and, make some noise versus UConn. And then the Texas versus TCU. This is going to be a close one. They got Texas, the favorites, on ESPN, minus 7.5. So we'll see how that turns out tomorrow afternoon at 6 o'clock. And then the UConn USC game got the evening slot at 8 o'clock. So yeah, a lot of sports talk going on. There was a lot of sports beef going on between Stephen A. Smith and LeBron. I wanna make a separate video about that because I don't want to get away from sports too much. I just want to touch on that a little bit because I think that was, something that a lot of the media outlets was talking about. So I guess I should give my opinion on it. The draft is coming up too. They got a lot of stuff shook up in the NFL. The Giants signed Russell Wilson and Jameis Winston. So now they're saying the Giants might not draft Shedeur at quarterback. The Titans are favorites to pick Cam Ward with the number one pick. I'm kind of torn about that. I think the Titans should take Travis Hunter. Even though I know the Titans need a quarterback. They definitely need a quarterback, but they shot themselves in the foot by drafting Will Levis when they jumped up to get him. So it's like I don't think you should double back to make up for a mistake. I think you should keep improving your team, keep improving your roster, and fix the holes down the road. I think the Titans should have definitely been one of those teams that should have been getting a vet quarterback like Jameis or like Russell Wilson. But they decided to, I guess if they draft Cam, it's not going to be terrible. I just think that they're passing up on a generational talent in Travis Hunter because I think the kid is that good. Shedeur, I see a lot of people saying it, a lot of media outlets that he might be dropping and stuff like that. I don't think this kid is going to drop that far. I think he'll still be a top 10 pick. I just think if he does drop, it'll be better for him because he'll be on a better roster with less expectations. Well, he's still going to have high expectations because of who he is, and the media outlets are going to be covering every step of the way. But hey, that's what comes with being a popular, polarizing player. And some people need to understand that, LeBron. But, so it's going to be interesting to see the draft and see how that plays out. I'll be keeping my eye on that. We'll definitely be, talking about it coming up soon. Hey, I appreciate y'all for rocking with me. I got some of my older episodes down here. I'm gonna post it up here in the corner. So y'all let me know what you want to hear, what I should talk about moving forward. Yeah, like I said, I appreciate the fam for rocking with me. We got way more coming. I'm about to be way more consistent. Don't y'all worry. We got it. I got you locked and loaded. It's your boy VIC93. Appreciate y'all for rocking with me.